And joining us right now from the Boston Herald, my friend and yours out there, he knows MLS and Team USA inside out, Kyle McCarthy. Kyle, welcome, my friend.
Thanks for having me. It's a busy day down here.
And a busy day up here as well, getting ready for the Canadian Derby. As we spoke lastly with Joseph D. Polito, we talked about 100,000 people in this two-legged series. We'll talk about that at another time because right now the story all day has been Jürgen Klinsmann out. I'm shocked at the amount of money, Kyle. $20 million, the package, give or take a few thousand here and there that Darren Ravel tweeted out. I'm absolutely floored because this money, I believe, maybe you can correct me, has got to be top 3, top 5 in the world as a national team manager. You?
It's a lucrative contract, certainly. And it has been since you joined U.S. Soccer. You know that several other countries do not pay top dollar for their national team managers. And the fact that U.S. Soccer reached that deeply into the coffers to bring Jürgen Klinsmann in a few years ago shows how much they wanted him to be in charge.
I think the arrogance, the stubbornness of Jürgen Klinsmann was his biggest downfall up until the weekend where I read somewhere that he was almost chastising the American media and the American soccer supporters for how dare you call for my job? How dare you say that? And here's a guy that comes from Europe and Germany where they call for coaches' jobs on a daily basis. He should know how the business works. I think this, to me, is a valuable lesson that the next guy that takes over, which we believe will be Bruce Arena, understands the U.S. soccer media landscape. You?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of different things wrapped up into a pretty complicated package. If you look at what Jürgen Klinsmann did best during his tenure, he got his teams ready for major tournaments, and he unsettled the status quo in American soccer. And those were two good things. The problem is when you go out and the results start to suffer, then you're in a situation where you have to try and explain yourself. And Klinsmann, way back from his days as one of the best strikers in the world, has had that conviction, that belief that he was doing the right thing. And that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in the United States, rightly or wrongly. And it certainly played a factor in his fallout as things started to unravel.
Kyle, he tried to reinvent the wheel time and time again as the team was on a downward spiral, trying different formations, different players. And I think this was, again, a major problem, especially with the guys in the locker room that, weren't comfortable, were playing out of position, new players coming and going. I mean, I give him credit also for one thing and one thing only. He tried to think outside the box, and the guy's name escapes me that he called up from the NASL and the Minnesota team. I can't recall who it was right now. You would know who that was. And I like that. He was thinking of, looking everywhere for players, and I had no problem with that. But trying different formations, different players and positions they weren't comfortable with, I didn't like that.
I think he did a nice job of trying to expand the horizons and identify talent. You mentioned Miguel Ibarra, the player from Minnesota United, but he also dug deep into the second and third German divisions to find players. He was on the bandwagon of Bobby Wood well before he came good and gave him opportunities. And Joe Zhao tweeted today about how Klinsmann supported him. And that has to go on the positive side of his ledger. And the counterfactual to that is that MLS folks were made uncomfortable by that. They didn't like his broadsides against the league. They didn't like what he thought about the talent in the domestic ranks. And that stuff starts to come to bear when the results start to suffer. And you just have to wonder how this might have changed if Klinsmann had skipped his experiment with the 3-5-2 against Mexico and stuck with the 4-4-2 that did well during the summer.
Over the years here in Toronto, when LA Galaxy visit and Bruce Arena did his post-game match comments and questions were thrown at him, not once can I recall him throwing a player under the bus, no matter how bad that player played. He never did it. Jürgen Klinsmann did it time and time again. This is why I believe Bruce Arena will be the guy, a stopgap guy. I think he has some unfinished business. I believe he'll get the respect right away in the room. He'll root out the issues that he believes are the players that are bringing issues with him. And right away, you know that he'll give guys like Benny Feilhaber, Justin Morrow a chance. You?
He knows how to manage a team. He's proven that time and time again with LA Galaxy. He's dealt with big stars, and he understands the landscape he's walking into. Nothing he's going to see will surprise him. He understands the scope of the job and what he's being brought in to do. And I think he's a safe pair of hands at a time when U.S. soccer needs a safe pair of hands. What that does to the program over the long haul is another question, but for now, he's certainly a reliable figure.
To me, if Bruce Arena does take over, which all the rumors and all the speculation is true of him taking over, I believe the deck is stacked against him. I believe he's got a real uphill challenge, one of the biggest in his coaching career. Because look, they've lost already to Mexico at home. That's huge. They've got to go to Mexico where it's hard to get a result. They've lost to Costa Rica. Yes, it was in Costa Rica, but they need to get that result back in their favor when they play them here. So I believe that this is going to be a massive challenge right from the get-go that he gets a result in that first game if it is Bruce Arena with Team USA.
Yeah, the one tricky part for Arena is that a lot of his wiggle room is now gone, right? Those 2 losses are not critical to the Americans' chances of getting to the World Cup. I still expect them to qualify. I certainly think they're better than Honduras and Panama and Trinidad and Tobago. But they have to be careful because you can't let 2 losses turn into 3 losses or 3 losses turn into 4. And so for Arena, he's got to figure out pretty quickly what he wants to do with the side, how he wants to alter the players at his disposal, and then set them on the right course to get results.
Lastly, Kyle, before we let you go, we appreciate your time, but how important is this January camp that's going to be coming up, as it always does for Team USA? How important is it that right away the tone is set, right away the good vibes, the harmony is back in place? Because get ready, in the year coming, 2017, there's lots and lots of work to be done. How important is that camp?
It's important, and Bruce Arena will sort that out straight away. There will be no questions about how he's going to conduct his business and what the expectations are. That's his calling card as a manager, and I expect him to bring that to the U.S. In terms of that January camp, I think it gives a lot of players hope because they knew they weren't in the reckoning for Jürgen Klinsmann. And now the fact that a new manager has come in, it's opened the door for other players to come in and impress. And I think you'll see the majority of the squad retain their places simply because they're the best available option. But I think you'll also see some other players come into the mix after dropping out of the reckoning.
Give me one name in your mind quickly as we exit that you think that hasn't been shown that respect that'll be called in by Bruce Arena.
I would expect Benny Feilhaber to return to the U.S. national team at some point.
Well, that's good because a lot of Sporting KC fans would like that, and I'm sure Peter Vermees would like him to get a crack at it as well. Kyle, thank you so much for making time. Hopefully you'll get a chance to watch the Canadian Derby tomorrow night, Montreal Impact TFC, 60,000 plus, and then in Toronto they're expecting 30,000. It's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. You cover MLS Inside Out with the Boston Herald, so we appreciate, again, you making time to talk about Jürgen Klinsmann firing. Thanks again, Kyle.
You got it. Have a great night.